Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. Two big things that I want to talk about when it comes to gun rights this week that I think are, pretty significant. The first one is that the SHUSH Act is being reintroduced. SHUSH being Suppressors Help Us Save Hearing Act. That is a bill to take suppressors off of the NFA, make them unregulated, just like any other accessory that's not a firearm. And the other one is the fact that a federal judge just let a guy go on a machine gun possession charge. Is this going to set precedent? We're going to talk all about that. So both of these things I think are pretty significant. Will we see actual benefits out of either one of them? We're going to kind of discuss it a little bit here. First is the SHUSH Act, aptly named Suppressors Help Us Save Hearing. And that is exactly what suppressors do. Now, we have talked about the SHUSH Act on this channel before. This isn't the first time it's been introduced. I think I've talked about it twice in the past couple years on this channel. And both times, of course, it went nowhere. Well, the last time that it was introduced, I talked about the fact that these kind of bills always seem to get introduced when they have no actual chance of passing. At the time, we had Joe Biden in the White House, and Joe Biden would not have let anything like that go. Not that he knew what was going on in the slightest, but his handlers, whoever was actually running the country, Joe Biden would have vetoed that even if it passed the House and the Senate, which it probably wouldn't have passed the Senate anyway, even if the House passed it. You get what I'm saying? Well, all of a sudden we find ourselves in a new, more conservative United States in 2025. Donald Trump won the presidency. We have a Republican in the White House. Now, is he the most pro-gun president ever? I would not say so. But it does seem, and I've said this before, like he has learned some of his lessons from his first term in office. And I think he's more pro-gun than he used to be. Now, is he going out into the range on the weekends and training like you and me? Absolutely not. But he's not trying to win another term. This is his last term in office, no matter what, as far as the Constitution is concerned. And so he's not really beholden to anybody. And he has publicly said that he is very pro-Second Amendment. He's not really aligned himself with the NRA anymore, which I think is a good thing. I think organizations like Gun Owners of America, Firearms Policy Coalition, and the Second Amendment Foundation do much better work. And it seems like he's listening to the right people now. Even after he got shot in the ear, he was the very next day still saying that he believed that people had the right, needed to have the right to be able to possess semi-automatic rifles like ARs for self-protection. So we've already got a more pro-Second Amendment president than we had a couple months ago in the White House. We also have a Republican majority in the Senate and the House of Representatives. So we can actually possibly get bills like this passed through Congress now. We also have a very pro-gun majority in the Supreme Court. So I think that there actually is a real chance that something like the SHUSH Act could be passed finally. Now, will it? So these kinds of things need to be prioritized. And so a big thing that you and I can do is to call our senators, call our representatives, and let us know that this is a priority to us, and that if they want to be reelected, if they want our votes, that they will prioritize the SHUSH Act, because otherwise they've got a lot of other things going on in the country. And, obviously the guys that are sponsoring the bill are all about it, but we got to get everybody on board. We got to have everybody that's a Republican vote for this, because probably everybody that's a Democrat will not. Now, one thing that is very easy for you to get behind is supporting this channel, Sawtooth Tactical, so that I can grow it and I can get the word about stuff like this out to more people. And the very best way to do that is by clicking on the first link in the description. That link is aura.com/sawtooth tactical. This video is sponsored by them. Now, Aura, is pretty awesome. I've been using it for almost a year now, and it has stopped me from getting spam calls. It's stopped me from getting scam calls. It manages my passwords for me. It protects my home title. It has parental controls that I don't really use. My daughter's 13 and I trust her. But it does all of my online security, which is something I never really thought about before I had Aura. But once I got it, I was amazed at the difference it made, and it is absolutely worth the $12 a month that it cost for all this stuff. I was so sick of getting spam calls. I was so sick of getting calls from scammers. And Aura goes online and they find all of the data brokers that have your information, that are selling it to these scammers and spammers, and they opt you out from all of those lists. And then it cleans up your information off of the internet and you stop getting all those kinds of calls. And besides that, they do all that other stuff I talked about too. And again, it's only $12 a month. But if you use my link, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical, or click on this QR code, scan the QR code, you get 2 weeks free, 14 days to try it out and decide if it is worth it to you or not. And then you can continue on with it or not. But might as well try it for free, right? First link, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. So as I said, Republican, more pro-gun president than the last one, for sure. Republican majority in Congress, both houses of Congress, and a conservative majority in the Supreme Court. This is our chance to get things like this passed, and we can't squander these opportunities. And so I hope that we can get the SHUSH Act passed. Suppressors should not be regulated under the NFA. It's totally ridiculous. There's nothing dangerous about them. All these things do is help save your hearing a little bit. They don't make anything silent. They just make the guns not nearly as loud. And they make them a lot more enjoyable to shoot. I only shoot my ARs suppressed these days. Because why wouldn't I if I have suppressors? And everyone should have suppressors. The thing is that people that aren't really seriously in the firearms community, they think that suppressors are just illegal. I was talking to my boss earlier today because, of course, me being the resident gun guy at work, he was asking me about a Beretta that he was interested in buying that had a threaded barrel. Well, he came from Texas. Now he lives in Idaho and has for the last bunch of years. That's where I am, southern Idaho. These are both very pro-gun states, and he was under the impression that suppressors were just illegal. And so I explained to him that no, you can absolutely buy suppressors. I explained to him that, my first one took 11 months to get approved for, but that now approvals are coming back in a couple days. And he got really excited to go and possibly buy his first suppressor. Well, it shouldn't even be like that. I mean, people think they're illegal because they're NFA registered items, just like machine guns, which we're going to talk about in 1 second here. But it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to go buy a suppressor just like you go buy this vertical foregrip, or this Mod Light, or this EOTech. You can order those things online and have them shipped right to your door. No NFA process, no background check. And suppressors should be exactly the same. So let's do everything that we can to get the SHUSH Act passed. That means, like I said, besides putting out videos like this to educate people, call your senators, call your representatives, see what you can do. Tell whoever you can that represents you in the government that this is a priority of yours. Because we got to get it done while we have this opportunity. In 2 years, we might not control Congress anymore, and then there's absolutely no chance. So we got to do it now. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is this machine gun thing. If you watch gun channels on YouTube, you've probably heard about this week. Well, there's a gentleman with my same last name, Brown, who was caught with a fully automatic weapon, a machine gun. Now, this guy has no criminal history to speak of, and seems like a pretty good guy from the little bit of research that I've done, but of course, possession of a machine gun. Now, technically, that's pretty much the same thing as being in possession of a suppressor that's unregistered. You can possess machine guns. That's the other thing. Just like my boss thinking that suppressors are illegal, Most people seem to think that machine guns are illegal as well. Well, they're not. It's just that with the Hughes Amendment, there are no new transferable machine guns after 1986. But pre-86 machine guns, totally legal. They're an NFA item. The problem is supply and demand. Supply is low since there's no new ones. Demand is high, so they're very expensive. And so that makes them hard to acquire. But the thing is that having an unregistered one, very illegal. Well, this guy had an unregistered machine gun, but the district court judge in Mississippi, an Obama appointee who is not very pro-gun at all, and in fact really kind of doesn't agree with the Bruin standard, at least he's still a good enough judge that he goes with the legal standard. And when he applied Bruin to this case, he decided that there was no precedent from when the Second Amendment was written that said that there should be any kind of a ban on machine guns. That a machine gun is a bearable arm, and that this gentleman has a right to keep and bear arms, including machine guns. So this is kind of huge. This is the second time, I think, in the last year that there has been somebody in possession of a machine gun and their case got dropped, basically saying that yes, it was okay for them to be in possession of these machine guns. Now, does this mean that we can all go out and get auto sears for our ARs and Glock switches? No, unfortunately it is not. This isn't like an all-encompassing decision that, gives us all blanket immunity to possess unregistered machine guns. But what it could possibly do is set legal precedent. Now, this isn't binding precedent by any means, but if there are other cases in the future that are similar, they can look at this as legal precedent when they go to make their decisions. And so this is something that could help us eventually get to the point where machine guns are totally legal to possess. Now, part of what made the judge make this decision is the fact that under Bruin and Heller and other things, the only firearms that the government can ban are ones that are dangerous and unusual. Not dangerous or unusual, but dangerous and unusual. Now, technically, all firearms are inherently dangerous, but are machine guns unusual? Well, the judge decided no, because what he had in front of him said that there were 750,000 machine guns possessed in the country. Now, are those pre-86 transferable machine guns? Are those post-86, FFL SOT samples? Are those illegal machine guns that are possessed by people? It wasn't very clear where that whole number comes from, but that is the number that he used. And he decided that that number constitutes common use and that machine guns, well, while they might be dangerous, they're not unusual. Which, by the way, if 750 of something makes it common use, suppressors and SBRs are absolutely in common use at this point. And so, we do have these Second Amendment wins coming, and I believe that we will have more of them coming in the coming few years. Hopefully we hold on to, control of Congress 2 years from now. We'll see how that goes. But what we want to do is we want to be on the offensive right now. The Second Amendment community has been on defense for far too long, and what we need to do is to get some of our rights back while we have the chance to. So don't be complacent. Make those phone calls, make those videos if you've got a YouTube channel. Do whatever you can do to help us get these things done. We need to get the SHUSH Act passed. I would love to see suppressors off the NFA. Now, a lot of people, I get questions, is that going to make suppressors more expensive or less expensive? I think in the long run, they'll probably be less expensive. They'll at least be $200 less expensive without a tax stamp, right? We'll see though, probably in the short term, maybe they'll go up because, again, the laws of supply and demand. I think a lot of people like my boss, who used to think that they were illegal, if they could just go buy them off the shelf, I think a lot of people are going to want to get suppressors. And so, companies are going to have to raise prices while they try to catch up with supply. But I do think that eventually prices will come down because more manufacturing companies will probably produce suppressors. And I'm sure companies like Palmetto State Armory here might start making, suppressors that are affordable for the everyday man. Although there already are some. I mean, Whip Machine and Tool right here, these are not very expensive. Even these Otter Creek Labs polonium suppressors, they're like $600. Again, plus a $200 tax stamp. But as far as suppressors go, relatively affordable. But I don't want to get too off into the weeds here. Let's cut the video before it gets too long. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about either of these things. Either if you think that we have a chance to pass the SHUSH Act or not. And if you think that in the future that we might see machine guns actually be something that we can all possess. That would be pretty cool. I would be happy with both of those changes to the Second Amendment landscape. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.